Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Today is Friday, as you can tell from the green light, because those of you who study planetary Kabbalistic magic, you understand that each of the planetary spheres is associated with a specific color, frequency, vibration, essence. In any case, today is represented by the Vedic entity known as Shukla, or Shukraya. That's it, Shukraya. Today we're going to be finishing up the book, The Paths of Pravritti and Nivritti. And this is a book by Swami Niranjan Ananda Saraswati that talks about how to identify and effectively manage the mind, to manage the vrittis, and the two paths associated with that management. One path is becoming more and more intensely involved with the vrittis, which are the fluctuations of the mind. The second path is moving away from involvement with the vrittis. If we were studying Kabbalah, we could talk about going down the tree and one path going up the tree. So welcome everyone who's in the chat. Greetings, Alora. Greetings, MC Maestro. Greetings, Society Ejects. Alicia M. Peace. We finally got that meeting together. Lonnie Alderdice. Greetings. Nicole Berkeley. Peace. Okay, so I accidentally started the live stream with my camera sideways, and the way that YouTube does it is you can't change it midstream. So we're gonna have to make it work. I'm gonna try to do this without having to restart. Naturally natured peace. Will Trent, greetings. Aldiki, greetings. Will Trent says, "Hey fam, lol. I'm at work listening to chapter 20 on power versus force, lol. Here till 4:30 a.m. So I'll be listening. Right on, bro. Right on." Aldiki says, "Just want to say peace to everyone. I'm at my daughter's game. I will catch up later. Much love, brother Trav." Right on, bro. I hope that it is awesome. I hope y'all have fun. All right. Well, let's move out of Unicorn Temple and move straight into the room where I read. Okay. I hope that this sideways camera works. It should. And for those of you joining now, and for those of you who are catching this on the replay, go ahead and hit the like button. Because, as I always say, this helps the YouTube algorithm know that this content is what the young folks call fire. Dropping gems. Spitting bars. Sunshine Chick, good evening. Okay, we'll make the sideways camera work. Mo B, good evening. Welcome. I hope you guys took the time to write down the thing that I asked you to write yesterday, as far as the Kabbalistic spheres and the archangels and the classes of angels, as far as the page numbers that those are associated on, because that will at least make the process of studying those specific aspects of the tree a little bit easier. And if you didn't do that yesterday, I will show a picture of it. My phone is charged. Thank you. I'll show the picture of my list, and you can take a screenshot if you didn't do it. But hopefully you did already. So I'm gonna flip my camera around. And you should be able to see here. If you didn't do this yesterday, here's another chance to do so before I make an official PDF to post for the members of the YouTube community. All right. So today's talk is not exclusively on Kabbalah. Phone check, coffee check, battery charger check. Good to go. Thank you, ladies, so much. Rue, I am. Greetings. Smooth Shaddai, peace, peace. All right. If I do the phone like this, does it still show up long ways? Because I really did not mean to turn it sideways when I started. Let me know in the chat if it still comes up. Drip, check. Okay, so it shows up fine. You guys can still see it like usual here? Or is it like stunted? No. No thumbs down. Oh man. Okay. Let's see what we can do about it. Let's see what we can do about it. There's always a solution. That's one thing Jesus taught me. There's always a solution. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Alright, so you guys let me know because you're gonna be seeing it. Do you wanna do it like this? Or do you want me to restart it? We'll take a vote. We shall take a vote. Good God. God looks comes out of the water, sees his reflection. The first thing he says is, "Good God." That's great, man. You can't make that up. Okay. I got 1 vote for restart, 2 votes for it's cool. So far, it's looking like we're going to keep it the way it is. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again now. War. Good God. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Whoops. Whoops. Alright, some people say restart. Some people say it's fine. I think that it might be okay. A little different, but it might be okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. You guys should have the book. If not, it should be on the way. And also, I'll kind of adjust as we read. Alright. I can see you guys in the chat fine, so I think it'll work. Alright, so let's move forward with this last chapter as the good Swami Niranjan Ananda wraps all this up. I have to tell you, it's been an interesting experience hearing his voice every day as I wake up with those mantras that he recorded, the ones for Durga. I see him sitting Indian style, like reciting them as I come into consciousness. It's pretty interesting. But let's get started here. Guru's guidance. The 2 paths that you encounter in life are the paths of Pravritti and Nivritti. In the Pravritti path, there is intense involvement of the senses, the self, and the world. 3 things are involved here: the self, the senses, which are the medium of involvement, and the world. All right, so that's just a distinction, an important distinction, that there are 3 things involved with these vrittis. That is the self, that is the senses, and then there's the world. So the fact that the self and the senses are separated shows that what the self actually is not the body, because the senses right there, that represents the body, the machine, right? And then the world is the external environment. The self is the internal environment. So again, he says the two paths that you encounter in life are the paths of Pravritti and Nivritti. In the Pravritti path, there is intense involvement of the senses, the self, and the world. Three things are involved here: the self, the senses, which are the medium for involvement, and the world. It is a path where there is intense entanglement of the senses and sense objects, of the vrittis, which are associating with the outer sense objects. In this situation, in order to gain balance and equilibrium, mental stability, and inner harmony, and cultivate an appropriate nature through which you can become aware of higher experiences, the process of restraint and discipline has been defined. Sanyam and Anushana constitute the sadhana of the Pravritti path. Sanyam is attained with restraint of the senses, mind, and speech, and Anushana is attained with regular practice of mantra, yoga, and the modification of diet and sleep patterns. So this should also sound kind of familiar here to what Patanjali was saying in the Yoga Sutras. How he was saying that the two ways to control your mind, he was saying the two ways to control the vrittis were through constant, consistent practice and non-attachment, vairagya. That's what the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali was saying. What Niranjanananda is saying here is that the process of restraint and discipline has been defined, right? It's been defined. And he's saying that the definition of it is Sanyam and Anustana. That constitutes the path of the Pravritti. Now, Sanyam is attained with restraint. He talked about sensory restraint, he talked about mental restraint, and speech restraint, right? Speaking only what is truthful and only what is pleasant. Mental restraint, management of the mind, and sensory restraint, having some self-control over the body's urges. Then he says Anusana is attained with regular practice of mantra, yoga, and the modification of diet and sleep patterns. So yeah, meditation is included here. Yoga is included here. Study is included here. All those things are included, but it's these things together which make the discipline. All right, so the foundation of the Nivritti path, right, because that was the Pravritti path, the foundation of the Nivritti path is renunciation or tyaga, dedication or samarpan, and belief or vishvas. Remember when he talked about tyaga, which is renunciation, that's not like throwing your hands up and saying, oh, I'm not going to eat meat anymore, and no more sex, and no more TV, and no more anything. I'm just going to live on a mountaintop. That's not renunciation. Renunciation is when you truly realize something greater than what you've been experiencing, and you naturally let all that stuff go because it no longer makes sense to entertain those things, right? The same way that you might do all your business on an old school BlackBerry flip phone, and then you suddenly discover an iPhone, you're naturally going to renounce that BlackBerry because it just doesn't serve the same purpose. You found something better. That's the type of renunciation he's talking about here. So when you're walking the spiritual path, it's not about just giving up stuff because that's what looks spiritual. It's about actually discovering something that fulfills you at a level that all the other things cannot fulfill you at. And he talks about dedication, consistency. He talks about belief, which is faith, which is working on a level that is beyond just the five senses. And all this was covered in the previous chapter, of course. He says here, how can anyone renounce the world when they're unable to renounce the body, the senses, the mind, the feelings and emotions, the beliefs and intellect, the samskaras and karmas? So it isn't really possible to renounce the world in that way. He says what we need to renounce is the obsessions of the mind. And he says it's not as a renunciation of something, but as attainment of something better. With such attainment, that which is useless will automatically be left behind. Make sense? Yeah. But then he also closes that section up by saying, he also closes up by saying, It is often stated in history and in stories that people renounce society and go into the solitude of forests, mountains, and caves so that they can practice spiritual sadhana. However, can this step transform someone who has been following the Pravritti path all along into a person who now follows the Nivritti path? Wisdom and experience say no, right? In other words, can you just pull somebody out of the world who says, "Oh, I want to become super spiritual"? Can you take them out of the world and just place them at in an isolated ashram and they suddenly become super spiritual? No, right? He says wisdom and experience say no, because it is very easy to renounce the external things, but the threads that bind internally are very difficult to cut off. How can they be cut off? In the presence of a guru. So that's how he leads into this chapter. All right, so the foundation of the Nivritti path is renunciation or tyaga, dedication or samarpan, and belief or vishvas. These three are to be found within the help of a guide, a guru. Their attainment in the real sense becomes possible when there is openness with the guru. In the Nivritti path, which is moving away from the sensory entanglement, in the Nivritti path, the guidance of a guru is imperative, but even the harmony that is sought in the Pravritti path becomes easier to attain with the help of a guru. Okay. Guidance in the path of Pravritti. Brain surgeon. How does the guru guide in the Pravritti path? You are already living in Pravritti. Therefore, there is no need to guide you to it. But there is a need to modify your interaction with Prakriti, or nature, environment, and society. Interesting. To do this, the guru has to work on you at the mental level. When the guru works on the mental level, he becomes the mind surgeon or brain surgeon. Everyone is facing certain conditions of the mind at their given mental level. Everyone, whether a saint or a sinner, faces dissipation of the mental forces, distractions, anxiety, frustration, and the desire to fulfill aspirations. The guru only modifies your way of thinking so that instead of a pessimistic view of life, you're able to develop an optimistic view. Instead of feeling helpless, you begin to experience hope. Instead of feeling dejected, you experience inspiration and motivation. The guru helps you to achieve this by fine-tuning your mind and guiding you through an understanding of what you are reacting to in life. Very key. The first task of the guru is to transform the deluded, narrow, and negative thoughts of the disciple. In the life of a disciple, transformation of thinking needs to come about first, then follows transformation of emotions. You perceive the world through your thoughts, and you can also perceive your spirit through your thoughts. Thoughts are the medium through which you can see the world and also reach the transcendental reality. They can take you both towards the world and God. Therefore, the guru's first task is to transform the disciple's thought process so it is possible to perceive the positive aspects of life. So notice the focus here on transforming the mind, on transforming the simple process of how one perceives reality. First, surgery on the brain, fine-tuning the mental behavior to acquire a better perspective, knowledge, attitude, and understanding for better integration with society, family, and environment. If the aspirant, whether a grihastha or a renunciate, is able to understand and pick up these messages and the teachings of the guru, then the positive and creative forces of the mind are allowed the opportunity to manifest. Once the positive potentials of the mind manifest, there's balance, harmony, and integration of the various human faculties. In this manner, you are able to develop a positive and balanced attitude towards life and society. By developing a better understanding of yourself, you integrate in society and the family in a better way. There's greater fulfillment and happiness, and development of a connection which is pure and innocent. There are people who stop after reaching this point in life. The need for a guru in their life is only to fine tune the mental awareness, and they do not feel the need for the necessity to have a guru for another stage of life. So that was the brain surgeon aspect. Let's look at what he has to say about guru as heart surgeon. All right, so surgeon. The other stage in life is surgery on the heart. There is a group which wants to explore beyond the mind and come closer to their spiritual nature. For such people, the guru becomes the heart surgeon. Once the mind becomes peaceful and balanced, there comes transformation of emotions. After having worked through the mind, the guru works with the disciple's sentiments and emotions. The guru becomes the center in which the normal human emotions can be channeled and focused. The human emotions are expressions of vital energy, Prana Shakti, which is subtle and uncontrolled. Now, where did we first learn about Prana Shakti? Where did we first get information, or rather detailed information on Prana Shakti and how to work with Prana Shakti? Well, you may have gotten it from somewhere else, but as far as I know, this is information that was coming from out of Tatwashuddhi. And at the end of this meditation practice, there is an experience of a vision of Prana Shakti. And that was page 37, of course. Sister Shooty. Yeah, so if you've got that book, it would be worth a read again on page 36. Oh, I got a fortune cookie. I wonder what it says. Financial hardship in your life is coming to an end. Looks like Mama Durga came through. Pretty awesome. And maybe that's a message for one of you guys. We'll see. Cool beans. I say. ZJ asks, what if you can't find a guru? They're not exactly abundant where I am. True indeed. MC Maestro says the Ajna chakra, along with other practices, get you right and expand your intuition. Absolutely. Definitely, you want to adjust your perspective and work with what you have. Work with what you have access to. You know what I mean? I mean, technically, the guy that wrote this book can be considered as a guru. Work with what you got. Sometimes things are in your presence and you might not recognize it as such. But there's always opportunity. There's always going to be some way for you to gain access to these things. It might just be, you just might need to shift how you perceive things. In other words, the answer is probably in your face. All right, so we're talking about Prana Shakti here. The human emotions are expressions of vital energy, Prana Shakti, which is subtle and uncontrolled. It is the raw form of prana, which you experience at the time of an emotional outburst over which there is no intellectual control or understanding, no instinctive control or understanding. Have you ever had a situation like that, where you have some type of emotional outburst that doesn't always mean a negative emotional outburst either? Right? Sometimes that can be an overwhelmingly good feeling where there is no intellectual control. I imagine that most of us experience something like that on a daily basis. But it is the raw form of Prana Shakti which you experience at the time of an emotional outburst over which there is no intellectual control or understanding, no instinctive control or understanding. It just happens. The outburst, the explosion of raw prana, just happens. Depending on what the mind is associating with at that moment, a corresponding response is evoked. Now that makes me think about what we read last night in the chapter about Hakma, right? And how Kether is that raw, undifferentiated energy of consciousness, right? But it's the essence of Hakma that grabs that energy and directs it towards a specific direction. And typically, Hakmagana is directed towards Bina, which is time and manifestation. The curvature of that raw, undifferentiated energy. It filters it and colors it and it channels it into something. That sounds a whole lot like what he's talking about here. The outburst, the explosion of raw prana just happens. Depending on what the mind is associating with at that moment, a corresponding response is evoked. Greetings, Hikate. Relotorn says, Guru don't have to be actual people. It's possible if you know how to really work with the symbols, because in all honesty, it's even just like what he's talking about here, you're channeling energy, right? When these people say, oh, it's within, stop looking outside. Yeah, it's true. But oftentimes, most people don't know how to direct that energy. So sometimes we align with a symbol, because a guru is a symbol, ultimately. A symbol of what he represents. He represents a state of consciousness. He represents some type of goal. And for you to focus on the guru, it allows a certain type of communication, certain type of relationship between you and what he symbolizes. So it's never about the person. It's about the relationship. Gotta understand that when you're getting to this advanced science, it's never about the thing that you're actually looking at. It's about the relationship between you and it. So yeah, if you know how to swing it, doesn't have to actually be people. Just like when MC Maestro said earlier, a guru could be the Ajna chakra, the third eye. And for those of you interested in that, you might want to check out this book, co-signed by the Bihar School, of course. But this might be a good one to get if you're someone who doesn't have a guru and don't feel like you'll be able to use somebody on the internet as that symbol. Sunshine Chick says, Trav is my guru. I'm not going to claim it, but I'm going to claim it. MC Maestro says, the outburst will happen anyway, but our focus determines what it feeds, precisely. Olora says, guru is bringer of light. Light is translated in many forms. Absolutely. She says, these books and lectures bring light. LVX777. So, again, this is important. The outburst, the explosion of raw prana just happens. Depending on what the mind is associating with at the moment, a corresponding response is evoked. If the mind is encountering a threat, the explosion of prana will be felt in the form of fear and anxiety. If it is encountering a pleasant experience, the explosion will evoke a different response. In this manner, depending on where the mind is attached at a particular moment, An emotional response is experienced. This happens every second of your life at an unconscious level. You're constantly responding emotionally to different situations and influences. However, in the presence of a guru, you consciously direct your emotional energies to focus on one point, which represents your fulfillment. Reminds me of a phrase, maintain your frame. If anyone has listened to maybe David Snyder or Mr. Hughes, you might have heard them mention about how when it comes to descriptions of, being nervous or afraid or having anxiety, it's usually an increased heart rate, temperature might rise a bit, you might start sweating, and the focus might become more sharpened. If I were to ask you what emotion that describes, you could literally say anything. You could say it's fear, you could say it's panic, you could say it's excitement, you could say it's love. It's That's the thing. Just like what he's talking about here, this raw emotion and raw energy, it's just the prana. It's just raw prana. But it's us who direct it and put it into a category. And here's the thing, depending on the category that you put it into, that's what's going to determine how much stress and suffering you have in your life. The outburst is going to happen. But if you continue labeling it as fear and anxiety and pain, suffering, depression, you're going to keep processing that. You get what I'm saying? So what he's talking about here, as far as the presence of a guru helps get you out of that negative process and begin stabilizing how you interpret this natural process. Not finna claim the baby, but I'm finna claim it. Well, I do a lot of work to make sure that I don't let my own ego get too big. But I very much appreciate the opportunity to be able to help. For sure, for sure. Something I do not take lightly at all, as you know from your experience with me so far. I respect you guys as mature individuals, and it's not in my nature to take advantage of people, so I do take it very seriously. That's why I say I'm not gonna claim it, but I claim it. Now, I may not go off and build a bunch of pyramids in Georgia like Malachi Z. York, but I hear that there's lots of real estate in this other place that you have to wear certain kind of glasses to see, but more on that later. So the guru helps you to color that energy, he says, that prana. All right. So he says, however, in the presence of a guru, you consciously direct your emotional energies to focus on one point, which represents your fulfillment, right? That one point is internal. You are directing the emotions inwards, away from the experiences of the world, into your inner spiritual dimension, right? The process which is adopted to guide these emotions and the inner spiritual dimension is Bhakti. And for those of you who don't know, Bhakti is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. Just like right now we're studying Jnana Yoga, which is about it's mental. It's understanding the mind through an intellectual, psychological process. Bhakti Yoga is devotional. It's a lot like what you might see in church with the people praising and worshiping and putting their hands in the air and letting that energy just go wild, right? When they say somebody catches the Holy Spirit, not pretending, but actually doing it. Bhakti is that full devotion that you just let take over your whole body. That is a form of yoga, right? That is one form. All right, so what he says here is the process which is adopted to guide these emotions in the inner spiritual dimension is Bhakti. That is the process to direct the emotional pranic forces inwards. Bhakti is experienced by living with the guru. It is the way to open up the heart. It is said that the first step in perfecting Bhakti is association with pious or good people. Pratama Bhagati Santana Kara Sangha. This means associating with pious and positive people who will uplift your mind, consciousness, and pranas. There's a corresponding Bible verse, but I can't think of it at the moment. This means associating with pious and positive people who will uplift your mind, consciousness, and pranas. If you associate with critical and negative people, you're not a bhakta. You cannot be a devotee or allow the guru to perform surgery on you. The first condition of bhakti is associating with pious, virtuous, good, and positive people. It indicates that associations are very important. What do you say there? It indicates that associations are very important. I'm telling you, the theme for this year is going to be it's about the relationships. Especially if you guys are studying Kabbalah with me. It's not so much just the sphere that you're looking at. It's good to understand the sphere so that you can understand it in relationship with the other spheres. But this whole paradigm is about understanding the relationships. Just like what he's talking about here, in order to really bring out this process of bhakti, you have to associate with good people, right? With people who are, like he says, you're positive, who will uplift your mind, uplift your consciousness, and uplift your pranas. And you know when you're around somebody who's able to do that for you, and then you know when you're around the presence of other people, because the world is full of those type, critical, negative, right? They don't see the good in things. All they see is the negative. So what he says here is the first condition of bhakti is associating with pious, virtuous, good, and positive people. It indicates that associations are very important. They can sway you in the wrong direction or take you in the right direction. As much as we say that we're individuals, and that's all true, we are still very much influenced by our environment and the people that we allow to be in our circle. No matter how established you are, it still has an effect on you. Even in the 48 Laws of Power, it talks about how it's not very intelligent to isolate yourself. So you kind of have to have an inner circle to stay connected. Sunshine Chick says, I love how these books are very direct, no fluff. Me too. So much time saved, right? And that's why I picked these books. Honestly, like, I feel like this is a time where we need to kind of move forward at a rapid rate. And the best way to do that is through information like this that's straight to the point. 60 pages, but how much was in this 60 pages, right? Of course, I wanted to dedicate a month to really study this book. Sure, you could have read this in a day or two, but to be able to kind of slice it up and dissect it like this, you can really start to juice it for all it's worth. Moby says, I have negative family members I keep at a distance. You can feel your energy drop around them. Absolutely. Especially when it's people you have an emotional connection to like that. The process is almost worse. Yeah. Okay, we got 29 people in the building currently and only 23 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and do so. It absolutely helps. Alright, let's keep going. Sideways camera ain't so bad. Won't do it again on purpose, that's for sure. Alright, so it indicates that associations are very important. They can sway you in the wrong direction or take you in the right direction. In the first step of positive association, faith must develop. When you associate with someone who you feel can inspire, uplift, and guide you, a level of trust must be there. The connection with the guru is that of trust and faith. Trust and faith are awakened when you follow the first condition of bhakti, association with the right people. See how that works? Trust and faith are awakened when you follow the first condition of bhakti, association with the right people. This provides a new and better understanding and perception about yourself and where you stand. Your direction in life becomes clearer, aspirations become clearer, blockages are removed, and misunderstandings are dispelled. This is the beginning of heart surgery. The Guru teaches how to open your heart in order to connect with the transcendental nature that exists everywhere. That is not an intellectual understanding, it's a realization. Siya Rama Maya Saba Jaga Jani Karahan Pranaam Jori Juga Paani. The whole world as Sita Rama I know, joining both hands in obeisance I bow. Let's continue. Virez Beats. Peace, bro. Peace. In the city of Compton. All right. It is a realization that everyone is made of the same substance, the same essence. The body is made up of the 5 elements. People may look differently externally, but the basic component which has created everybody is the same, whether you're Indian, American, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, or European. The Guru imparts the awareness of this connection which exists at the higher level, the inner or spiritual level. Every individual is connected with every other individual and also with the higher transcendental self. When this realization dawns, a change comes about at the emotional level. When this realization dawns, a change comes about at the emotional level. I'm going to highlight that. So I totally understand the people who are still stuck at the Illuminati Freemasons are going to get a stage. I get it. But when you start to understand at a higher level that these separations are illusions, a real change happens. I say that in part because of that Sadhguru video I posted. If you go back and look at some of those comments, you just get a good view of the mental state of some of the people who felt emotionally triggered by what was stated in that video. There's nothing to fight about or argue or debate or convince. It's just good to see the perspective of certain people, right? And when you look at the book like Power versus Force, there's more of an understanding of why people feel the way they do. Mainly because there's been some kind of personal situation, personal unresolved trauma that's happened, right? MC Maestro says, a real change happens, a real nigga emerges. That's on Nanda. Nice, nice. Every individual is connected with every other individual and also with the higher transcendental self. When this realization dawns, a change comes about at the emotional level. The emotions which, until now, were connected only with yourself, with the sense of I, no longer remain limited, but connect with everyone. You rise above the limits of selfishness, free yourself from the bondage of selfishness, and attain a state of mind where no desires remain. Existence of desires means birth of the selfish vritti, and cessation of desires means destruction of the selfish vritti. Again, existence of desires means birth of the selfish vritti, and cessation of desires means destruction of the selfish vritti. Remember again in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he talked about how there's selfishness and selflessness, and when actions are taken out of selflessness, it doesn't cause negative fluctuations or negative vrittis. Real American heroes. As the intensity of the selfish vritti lessens, the heart becomes purer, and crookedness and deviousness disappear from life. The mind and emotions attain purity. A greater appreciation of life takes place. And I can certainly attest that I've seen that happen to myself in my life. I used to be a completely different person just a few years ago. But all those other things start to drop away from you as you realize that it, those feelings are useless. As the intensity of the selfish vritti lessens, the heart becomes purer, and crookedness and deviousness disappear from life. The mind and emotions attain purity. A greater appreciation of life takes place. That's something that you can expect to happen if you follow what he's talked about in this book so far, and if you follow what all of these yoga books are talking about. Because a lot of this selfishness, it's coming from awareness being so deeply entangled with the five senses and the five sense experience. It's easy to do, but there is a way out. You just have to be willing to take it. Just like the Matrix, right? The guru continues to work his wonders by performing heart surgery. Some people are able to undergo this surgery and become better followers and disciples of the guru's life and teachings. Up to this point, the teachings are common to both a householder and a sannyasin. A worldly person needs to purify the mind and emotions by following the instructions of the guru, and so does a renunciate. The householder is satisfied to have reached this point. He thinks, I have found a guru, and due to the guru's compassion, I have found God's grace. Having found the grace of God, my mind has become peaceful. My emotions, which were earlier limited to myself, have become expansive. And due to the purity of mind and emotions, I am able to experience joyous and positive conditions in my personality. The connection of a householder with the guru is limited to this point, and their journey stops here. Alora says, I almost got into a debate today and then thought, what am I trying to prove if I have nothing to prove? Then I let it go and made room in my headspace for better things. That's awesome. You start to enjoy that process the more you do it. You can enjoy that feeling of being proud of yourself every time you walk away from a debate like that. Because that's what it is. You know what you know, and they know what they know. You're not going to convince somebody in a debate. That's not how it works. You're going to state your point, they're going to state their point, and if there's an audience, it'll get loud and emotional, and the loudest person wins. But no one is convinced otherwise. If you really want to convince someone of something, there are more useful methods, but debate is certainly not one. Good job, though. Guidance in the path of Nivritti. There are others, the exceptions, who want to go even further in their spiritual journey and want to become established in the highest spiritual truth. They become sannyasins and follow the Nivritti path. In the Pravritti path, one may or may not follow a guru, but the journey of the Nivritti path begins in the proximity of a guru. So those of you who said that you don't have a guru, at least you're in the proximity of a guru. So that's close enough. In our story, Atmaram started the journey from the Hotel Samsara with the help of the guide, because without the guide's help, one cannot become free of Pravritti. You may want to do so, but you may feel that I have been through too much. Now I need some peace, but you will not know the way. Therefore, the guru becomes necessary. A sannyasin is a person who has surrendered to the teachings of the guru and is trying to mold his or her life as per those teachings. Sannyasa has been described as a tradition, and it is indeed that. It has been described as a state of mind, and it is that also. However, the feeling that a disciple experiences at the time of receiving sannyasa is, I am surrendering myself to my guru. I am eager to realize the teachings of my guru. The guru guides you to experience the state of tyaga, which was renunciation, to flow in surrender and have firm belief. This is where an inner relationship between guru and disciple is formed. The guru helps you understand the foundations of the Nivritti path, tyaga, samarpan, and vishvas, and to live them. And remember, that was renunciation, dedication, and faith. Yeah. Moby says, the feeling that you controlled your emotions and mind is the best feeling ever. I agree with that. Alora says, Brother Panic helped me with that one. I'm not here to argue egos. Right. Society Eject says, with debate, you're only trying to convince yourself. And when you realize that, like Alora said, it's like, who am I trying to convince? What am I trying to prove here? If you already know, then there's no point. Because you damn sure not going to convince the other person. And here's the thing, most of the time when people are doing that, they just want to have a verbal battle. They're not looking for understanding. They're not looking to understand what you have to say. It's literally just a verbal battle. There is no victory in that war. At least not that way. Virez Beats says, whatever we complain about or feel a negative way about is a reflection of the issues we have within us that we haven't shadow worked out yet. When we feel like people are effing us around, we're basically hurt by our own reflection. Absolutely. But it takes a certain maturity to understand that. That's why I say, like, when you look and you see what people say, you can tell what level they're at. And, it's not about beating people up who are at a different level. It's just about understanding. You know what to say and what not to say. Because some things are not going to be accepted by a person in a specific level of understanding. Right? I can't go to a kindergartner and talk about Shakespeare. It's just not gonna. It's gonna be worthless to do that. So you have to understand what level a person is at before you try to communicate with them. At least when it comes to spiritual matters like this. If somebody's on an Illuminati's out to get us level, then you're gonna have to talk at that level. Straight Panther, peace and greetings, bro. 4 more days. I hope you got something big planned. Or not. Maybe you're just gonna chill. That's probably what I would do during my birthday. Alright. Teachings to leave excess baggage. Tyaga is generally translated as renunciation, but Tyaga should mean gaining and losing. Matt Watson, peace. Not renouncing, but gaining and then losing. So again, we're talking about Tyaga, we're talking about renunciation. He says Tyaga is generally translated as renunciation, but Tyaga should mean gaining and losing. Not renouncing, but gaining and then losing. What is the meaning of the word Tyaga, or what is the understanding that comes with the word renunciation? Generally, they convey the idea that you have to leave something behind. It is easy to leave behind home and family, and it is true that a sannyasin must forsake those connections. It has been prescribed that a sannyasin must be free of the bondages of home and family. Tyaga does not mean renunciation here, but freeing oneself from those connections. All parents have certain expectations for their children, and it is necessary to become free of them when you want to follow your own path. How many of you guys experienced that growing up most of your life and your parents wanted you to do something, right? They had it in their mind and in their heart set that you were going to do something. You didn't have a choice in the matter. How many of you guys have grown up with that? And then as you get older, you start to realize that you have your own path to follow, and you start having different feelings. Zahira Anu, peace. Yeah, that's a difficult time, but I appreciate that time because it really teaches you to stand up for yourself and to stand up for what you believe in. At least for me, that's what it really taught me. And it's been a while. It took years for me to really get over that and break those chains of bondage. It really did. But I'll read that again. He's talking about renunciation. Generally, they convey the idea that you have to leave something behind. It is easy to leave behind home and family, and it is true that a sannyasin must forsake those connections. It has been prescribed that a sannyasin must be free of the bondages of home and family. Tyaga does not mean renunciation here, but freeing oneself from those connections. All parents have certain expectations of their children, and it is necessary to become free of them. It is necessary to become free of them when you want to follow your own path. Sri Swamiji tells us that when he was a boy, his father would say, "When you grow up, become a big police officer, join the IPS." That was because he was himself a police officer. His mother was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi and found joy in serving society. So she would say, "Become a social worker when you grow up, forget the police." His aunt would say, "Forget social work, become a doctor. Then you will be able to look after anyone who falls sick in the family and also serve the poor." Check that out. The dad said become a police officer because he was a police officer. The mom said become a follower of Gandhi because she loved serving society. The aunt said become a doctor because basically one day I'm gonna be sick and I need you to take care of me. Notice the selfishness here. Notice the selfishness here. Now, sure, it's all understandable, right? Because we're all human beings. But for the father to tell the child to become a police officer, not even observing the child to see where he is or what he enjoys, right? Not even looking at that. You need to be a police officer because I was one. The aunt saying, you need to become a doctor because that way you can heal anybody in the family who needs it. Think about the people in your life who are trying to pressure you to become something or do something, and you can almost just instantly see the selfishness in that. They typically want you to do that because of some type of selfish motives. And that might be kind of hard to look at, but it's the truth. How can you say that you're doing what's best for somebody if you don't even know what that person wants or needs? We got Team Aquarius in the chat. I think I've said it before. Aquarius is probably my favorite sign outside of my own. I tend to get along with Aquarius very well. I think they're the only sign that really understands me on a level. The only sign that can't call Gemini crazy. All right. So yeah, just notice the selfishness there. So here's what happened. He said, in this way, everyone would give their suggestions. He listened to them all for months and years, and finally decided, I will do none of what these people say. I will become what I want to. And he took sannyasa. It took me a long time to get to that point. Some people never get to that point. Some people have lived most of their lives trying to make other people happy. I can't do it. I cannot do it. It took me a long time to get to that point, though. But he says, I will do what none of these people say. I will become what I want to. And he took sannyasa. Sri Swamiji tells this story as a joke, but there are expectations in every family. This leads them to exert pressure, which comes manipulation. Check that out. So this leads them to exert, right? He tells us as a joke, but there are expectations in every family. This leads them to exert pressure, with which comes manipulation. Therefore, if you take to the path of sannyasa and want to advance on the spiritual journey, it is necessary to break free of all these relationships. How can you be free of the worldly relationships? If you stay together, the connections will continue to be there. That is why you need to leave them. When you don't live together, no connections will be formed. When there is no connection, there will not be any expectation. When there is no expectation, there will not be any pressure. When there is no pressure, you are free. I highlighted that, and I'll read it again because it's important to think about and digest. So he says, therefore, if you take the path of a sannyasa, which is basically a yoga student, a spiritual student, yoga student, he says, if you take that path and you want to advance on the spiritual journey, it is necessary to break free of all these relationships. Look at what he says here. How can you be free of the worldly relationships? If you stay together, the connections will continue to be there. That is why you need to leave them. We don't live together, no connections will be formed. When there is no connection, there will not be any expectation. When there is no expectation, there will not be any pressure. When there is no pressure, you are free. Thus, the spiritual tradition says that a person who wants to move forward on the path of a sannyasa must break the connections with home and family. All the same, it is an external process. Something to think about. I know I mentioned that it took me a long time to get to that point where I was able to be confident enough to be myself, essentially. But that only happened when I moved out, right? That can't happen when you're still living with your parents or still living with the people who are pressuring and manipulating you to do what they want you to do, right? Sure, you can try to resist and fight, but it, like you said, it involves manipulation. There's going to be a back and forth tug of war, and if you don't take the time to separate and gather your strength to really be who you are, it's going to be a very difficult ride. And I also know it's not easy to just get up and leave. I know that. But keep it in your mind that your environment does have a lot to do, and do what you can with what you've got. You're always going to have enough for the level that you're at. So use what Ophiel talked about in the art and practice of gaining material things through creative visualization. Use your sphere of availability. Work with what you have and increase that. Work with what you have and increase that. MC Maestro says, I used NLP to reframe what they say. That's in your frame of, in your sphere of availability. Use what you have and make it work for you, right? If you know about NLP, use it on yourself to read, like what he said, and to reframe, to hijack the matrix, right? I made a video about that a long ass time ago. But yeah, I personally didn't really start to have my breakthrough until when I moved out and left. But just something to think about. Connor Black says, greetings, Connor. Connor says, yeah, my mom will just suggest things. It's just an automatic thing. Right. And look, at no point did I say these were bad people or evil people. This is just human nature. This is just how it happens. Now, in their head, yes, it is a selfish thing, but in their head, they're trying to do what's best for you, quote unquote. But like I said before, how can you know what's best for somebody if you don't actually know that person? All right, let's keep going. Oh, look at young Niranjan Ananda Saraswati. For those of you who don't know, he started his journey at 4 years old. 4 years old, this man was in there learning about this stuff. I mean, at his level, of course, but I've seen those videos where they're teaching the elementary age students to memorize the Vedas. I've seen those videos. Those little kids, man. This also reminds me of the book Mimetic Magic, where it talked about being a part of the root social matrix. Yeah. Society Eject says, yep, you do what I say. This is my house. I remember that. As long as you're living under my roof, you're going to live under my rules. Yep. I remember them days. And you know what? If they're paying the bills, they have the right to say that. Like I said, there's nothing wrong, nothing bad. They're not bad people. It's just you got to understand the situation so you can make the right moves. That's all I'm saying. At no point do I make a value judgment. I've thrown value judgments like that out the window. It's all about understanding where the other person is coming from so you can move properly. All right, well, let's keep going. When I was a young boy, I would say to Sri Swamiji, why do we live in a city? Sadhus are supposed to live in forests and mountains. We should also go to some such place, make an ashram there, and live in solitude. Sri Swamiji would reply, one can live anywhere, a city or forest, but remember, there is no peace in the mountains, and there is no noise in the market. All this is a play of your own mind. If you can bring your mind under control, you will find the same peace in the middle of a marketplace which you are searching for in the Himalayas. Powerful. If you cannot bring your mind under control, then you will not be at peace even in a cave in the Himalayas. As a child, I could not really understand this, but now one is able to understand that all this is indeed a play of the mind. Whether the mind connects with home and family, the senses, or objects. But as a child, I could not really understand this, but now one is able to understand that all this is indeed a play of the mind. Whether the mind connects with home and family, the sense or objects of sense enjoyment, it's all a play of the mind. I think this is the picture that Connor was talking about, where Sivananda was sipping the tea, looking like Birdman on Cash Money Records. Are we finished or we done? I ain't gonna do no more talking. Put some spec on my name. I done knew plenty of places that you was gonna be at, but I ain't thought it would have been gangster. Put some spec on Sivananda's name. I ain't would have thought that would have been gangster. I ain't gonna do no more talking. Bihar Records. Bihar Records. He ain't thought that would have been gangster. He ain't gonna do no more talking. Now, put some spec on that man's name. This is where the guru imparts the teachings of Tyaga. He says, leave behind that which is of no value to you. What has to be left behind is the excess baggage. Are you able to do that? It is very difficult. If you haven't yet found a person who is capable of doing this, what has to be left behind is the excess baggage. Are you able to do that? It is very difficult. I haven't yet found a person who is capable of doing this. People always carry the excess baggage of their vasanas, desires, and ambitions with them, even in the form of memory. The memory of the good and the bad that you have undergone in life is retained till the end of your days. You are not able to clear this excess baggage from the mind. Association with the guru teaches how to leave behind the excess baggage by accepting it. Sounds like shadow work. Association with the guru teaches how to leave behind the excess baggage by accepting it. He teaches you to accept that it is there and realize that it has no value and meaning in your life. When you receive something of value, then that which is of no value is automatically left behind. That is Tyaga. First gaining something of value and then leaving that which has no value. You guys understand that as far as Tyaga goes? Renunciation? It's not just about running away from your responsibilities or leaving the world behind. That's not what he's talking about when it comes to renouncing the world or renunciation. And even Jesus talked about this. To follow me, you'll have to leave behind your family and friends, right? Even Christ said that. But it's not just walking away from the world. It's about you actually attain something greater that's gaining, and then you leave that which is has no value, right? That's what he's talking about as far as renunciation here. Society ejects, exactly the quote. He says, then Jesus said unto the disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Matthew 16:24. Exactly. That's what I was talking about. Thank you for the quote. As a matter of fact, I should probably write that down because it's going to keep coming up. Matthew 16:24. Okay. Uh-oh. Binaural beats have stopped. Give me just a second. Om Durga. Om Durga. All right. I'm back with a new binaural beat. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It helps YouTube help me. All right, so we talked about Tyaga, we talked about renunciation. Now, it's not just walking away from things, but replacing something with no value when you finally found something of value, right? When you receive something of value, then that which is of no value is automatically left behind. That is Tyaga. First gaining something of value and then leaving that which has no value. You have to replace what you give up with something new that you take in. Therefore, Tyaga actually means equipping yourself with the appropriate, the best, the optimistic, and the positive, and leaving behind the detrimental, the bad, the negative, and the destructive. And honestly, that's the best way to get over addictions and to change behavior, right? That's how I was able to give up drinking alcohol and doing all kind of other things that weren't good for me. It wasn't that I just dropped them cold turkey, but I found something better. And at this point, it's not a struggle. It's not like if I smell it again, then I'm like, oh, I gotta have it. I've literally overcome it because I found something in my life that is greater than all of those things. So that the presence of them doesn't make me sweat and doesn't make me crave. I don't have a craving or any. It's not like that. I'm not running from it. I've literally absolved it. That's the point that you want to be at when you're able to overcome the negative aspects in your life because you literally found something better to where you have no more desire for those things anymore. He says you have to replace what you give up with something new that you take in. Therefore, Tyaga actually means equipping yourself with the appropriate, the best, the optimistic and positive, and leaving behind the detrimental, the bad, the negative, and the destructive. That is the real meaning of the word Tyaga, and the Guru can guide you towards it by pointing out the shortcomings of your nature. This enables you to experience Tyaga over a period of time. This is what I have realized through the training received from Sri Swamiji. What he taught over 40 years ago has prepared us to know the difference between Sangraha, accumulation, and Tyaga, renunciation. So he taught him the difference between accumulation and renunciation, which may not have been possible otherwise. Alora says, I quit smoking by being more active in my training and hanging out with non-smokers more. Boom. And see, that's the principles in action right there. So you quit smoking by, number one, being more active in your training. That's adding something and replacing it, right? And also, if you're training and being physically active, you're going to start you're working on your cardio, basically. So it's like, you'll notice when you're smoking, you're going to have short breath. So it just doesn't add up. You're going to have to choose either the smoking or the training, right? And then also, like you said, hanging out with non-smokers. That's associating with a different group of people. Their behaviors are different. Their thought patterns are different. It's not going to influence you to continue smoking. That's exactly what he's talking about. Useless Familiar says, it is kind of weird that I too have lost the need of weed and alcohol. Right. I was a heavy drinker for many years, but honestly, the deeper I started to go into this science of spirituality, I didn't need to do that stuff anymore. Because number one, I was just escaping, and number two, I was just trying to feel something, right? Because I felt numb and I didn't want to feel depressed. I want to feel something else. But I was able to do that with the spiritual practice. I was able to go deeper within myself and within my experience of life than ever before. I didn't need alcohol anymore. Like, I literally don't need it anymore. I live with drinkers. I live with people who have alcohol all the time. And not once, not one half of a time have I felt temptation to, oh, well, maybe if I just have a sip. That has never crossed my mind since I stopped. Why? Because I found something better. Because I found the reason why I drank, and I found something to solve that reason. And I found something better than that. Connor Black says weed just puts you in a loop, and once you're out, you realize how pointless it is. Yes. Stray Panther 79 says I'm starting to feel that way too. Yeah, I think that's a sign that, you're really starting to taste the truth, the realness, as they say. Meditation has a way of doing that. Once during Sri Swamiji's days in Rishikesh, Swami Sivananda, which is this guy here, Swami Sivananda was making his rounds of the rooms in the ashram, and he came to Sri Swamiji's room. There he saw that on the floor was a tiny blanket, and papers, files, and pens all over the room. He asked Swami Satyananda, "Where's your bed?" Sri Swamiji said, "That blanket is my bed. I sleep on it. When I feel cold, I cover myself with it." So he's sleeping on the floor, right? So Satyananda is living in the ashram here, and he's living with the OG guru, Sivananda. Sivananda comes to his room and sees that all he's got in his room is a blanket, a bunch of papers and files, and some pens. OG asks him, "Where's your bed at?" And he's like, "That blanket is my bed. When it's cold, I cover myself with it." Swami Sivananda, OG, says, "Not good enough." He said, "Where's your tea and your kettle?" Swamiji said, "I don't need those things. Why should I keep a kettle, tea, and sugar in my room? Everything that I need is provided for in the ashram." Swami Satyananda was about it. He was living the life for real. He didn't even want a bed to sleep on. He said, "Why should I keep a kettle, tea, and sugar in my room? Everything that I need is provided for in the ashram." Swami Sivananda, OG, went back to his room, and after about 15 minutes, the accommodation team of the ashram came in. They have an accommodation team. The accommodation team of the ashram came in with a bed, mattress, pillow, bed sheets, blanket, kettle, tea, stove, and kerosene. Sri Swamiji immediately went to Swami Sivananda and said, "What have you done? Why have you sent all those things to my room? I don't require them." Swami Sivananda, OG, said, "You may not require them. I have not sent them for you. I have sent them for those who come to your room. If somebody comes to your room at night and it's freezing cold outside, you can make some tea and give it to that person. It will warm him. You can give him a blanket and he will feel warm. These things are not for you. They are for the visitors who come to your room." Sri Swamiji accepted the Guru's words and went back. Now imagine yourself in his place. Would you have been so happy thinking, "My guru is looking after me. My guru has given me the sanction to have tea in my room. My guru has sent me a stove and now I can have tea whenever I like"? That will be your attitude, am I wrong? You will feel so happy that Guruji is looking after you and has given you the permission to have tea as many times as you like. But look at the attitude of Swami Sivananda and Swami Satyananda. Swami Sivananda said, "Don't use it for yourself. Keep it for somebody in need." Sri Swamiji also took the instruction in the same manner. He did not think, "I am the favorite of Swami Sivananda now. He has sent me a bed, blankets, bed sheets. I must be his favorite disciple." I have related this incident to indicate an important point. You can have everything, but not use it, crave it, or desire it. Greetings, Gerald Sombright. Uh-oh. MC Maestro says, same with the metaverse. I don't need a flat screen TV, Gucci, and hose. Those karmas can express themselves in the metaverse. As we shall see, my friend. Who's ready for the metaverse ashram? I have related this incident to indicate a very important point. You can have everything but not use it, crave it, or desire it. It may not be useful to you, but it will be of use to some other person. This is the concept of Tyaga. It is not my need, and I'm not even attracted to it. It is there, fine. It has been kept here. At the appropriate time, it will be used. This is a gross example where you have everything and at the same time hold the bhavana, the feeling of Tyaga, of not needing anything. There is no rejection. There is acceptance. Gradually, you begin to receive spiritual jewels at other levels of life, and the material stones keep on falling away. As you replace the material stones with spiritual jewels, your bag becomes full of jewels and empty of stones. Therefore, leaving something behind is not Tyaga, but gaining something of value first, and then leaving behind that which is of no value is Tyaga. So guys, it's time to take those rocks out of your infinity gauntlet and start collecting some spiritual jewels. Take them rocks out of your infinity gauntlet. Looking like lamos out here. This is how the teaching of Tyaga begins. Leave your obsessive desires behind. Become aware of them and then free yourself of them. Break your attachment to sense objects. As you go on serving your connection with sense objects, as you go on severing your connection with sense objects and leaving them behind, as you go on becoming aware of the world and your desires and free yourself of them, you advance on the path of Tyaga. However, Tyaga is successful only when you receive and then discard. People become afraid of the word Tyaga, thinking that they will have to renounce this and that because they do not want to let go of anything. I gave the example of climbing a ladder. You let go of one step only when your feet are firmly established on the next one. First, there is an attainment, then a letting go. When the mind becomes healthy, the unhealthy mental conditions are automatically left behind. When the emotions are healthy, then emotional ill health is left behind. Therefore, the definition of Tyaga is not discarding. Its definition is attain one thing and in its place let go of something. Create one connection and free yourself of another connection. This effort must be made continuously in the life of a disciple. Freedom from mind. The second aspect of the Nivritti path is surrender, samarpan. Okay, so he's going through these three aspects of the Nivritti path again. So we just covered renunciation or Tyaga, and I think he did a pretty decent job in really fleshing out what that means. It's not just giving up all the pleasures of the world. It's finding something better first, finding the jewels, and then letting the stones go. Take them rocks out of your infinity gauntlet. Freedom from mind. The second aspect of the Nivritti path is surrender, samarpan. Sam means total and arpan means offering. I offer everything. To whom do you offer everything? You can only offer it to Guru or God. These are the only two places where you can offer everything. As for God, you don't know him. You've never seen him. The Guru is present. The connection with the Guru is tangible. When the idea of offering everything comes, the aspirant is without a mind. If the mind was there, it would say, retain this, retain that. In the absence of the mind, one can offer everything. This is an indication that in the guru-disciple relationship, the mind has to be bypassed. The mental responses have to be transcended. You know the story of Milarepa. His guru told him, I want you to make a hut on the top of the mountain by carrying stones from the base of the mountain. So his guru told him, I want you to make a hut on top of the mountain by carrying stones from the base of the mountain. For many months, Milarepa carried stones and rocks, and finally the hut was ready. The guru went to look at it and said, I don't like the location of this hut. Carry the stones back to the base of the mountain and make a hut there, using the same rocks and the same stones. Milarepa again carried the rocks and the stones from the top of the mountain and to the base and constructed a hut. His guru, Marpa, again looked at it and said, no, I don't like this place. I think the top is better. Shift everything back up again. Any other person would have thought the guru was crazy, but a disciple who had bypassed his mind did not question. He did not question the whims of the guru's demand. He said to himself, this is the instruction of my guru. This is what is expected of me. I will do it. Without thinking twice, he simply obeyed. He did not think even once, is my guru troubling me? Is he trying to see how I respond, how I behave? Nothing like that. Milarepa did not go through any head trip at all. He had dedicated and devoted himself completely and had the conviction, if I have stopped thinking about myself and handed over that responsibility to the guru, then that is the guru's duty. I have nothing to worry about. When it comes to samarpan, the disciple must think carefully. Where do I stand with respect to my surrender? Samarpan means emptying oneself from within. Arjuna asked Krishna many questions, but Krishna did not reply to them until Arjuna said, Shishyastitham sha'adi ma'am twam parapanam. I give my head over to you as your disciple. That is when Krishna started the discourse of the Bhagavad Gita, not before that. A guru knows that the inner receptivity of a disciple develops only when there is dedication. It does not develop when you stand rigid and are only focused on expressing your own thoughts. Therefore, samarpan means that you surrender to the Guru Tattva or Ishvara Tattva, endowed with faith. Right? Remember what I said about this being about the relationship and not the person. This is where a lot of people get this kind of stuff confused because they think that they're up under a person. But this relationship is between you and the source that you are using this symbol to communicate with. Way more advanced than, your average basic. Once there were two aspirants who had been practicing intense austerities. They had hung themselves upside down from a banyan tree for innumerable years and were doing their sadhana in that posture. One day, Sage Narada was passing by in the sky. Due to the attainments of their sadhana, the two were able to see him. They called out to him. Narada came down, and the two also came down from the tree and paid their respects to him. They asked him, "Where are you going?" Narada replied, "You know that I am the official reporter of heaven." I wonder which angel he represents. Does anybody recall the reporter of heaven? Isn't Ratziel the one that went to and from the runner of God? Interesting. He says, "You know that I'm the official reporter of heaven. I'm going to Narayana to interview him." The aspirant said, "Well, if you're going to Narayana, we also have a question for him. Will you ask on our behalf?" Narada asked, "What is the question?" The aspirants replied, "Please ask him when he will come to give us darshan." Narada said, "Okay, no big deal. I will ask." The two aspirants went back to their tree. A few days later, Narada returned. The aspirants asked eagerly, "Did you ask him our question? What did he say?" Narada said, "Narayana has said that he will certainly give you darshan, but it will take time." The aspirants asked, "How long?" Narada replied, "Narayana said that as many leaves as there are on this tree, it will take him the same number of years to appear before you." The two looked at the tree. It had innumerable leaves. One of them said, "I am not ready to wait for so many years. I'm going back home. At least I'll be able to eat good food cooked by my wife there instead of the roots and berries. I am enduring heat and cold on this tree. There I will be able to sleep on a soft bed. There is no one to look after me or converse with here. There I will be able to chat with my children and grandchildren." Thinking in this manner, he picked up his bag and left. The other aspirant thought, "No one till today has been able to know when God will appear before him. God has told me that he will certainly come to me, and he has even given me the time. I have received his assurance." Filled with love for Narayana, he went back to the tree and continued to perform his sadhana. The moment he thought that God has assured me, and I will certainly have his darshan came to his mind, Narayana appeared before him. Narada became very angry. He said to Narayana, "Lord, you turned me into a liar. Why did you come now? There was no need for you to come now. You had said it would take you thousands of years." Narayana said, "Look, Narada, one aspirant thought, 'Why should I waste my time?' and went back home. The other one thought, 'I've received an assurance from God and he will certainly give me darshan.' As soon as this feeling of faith and surrender came to his mind, the laws of time stopped for him, and I had to appear before him." For those who are listening and who were here yesterday, that sounds very much like chesed. I'm just saying. It sounds very much like chesed. Alora says this is like a conversation between the logical mind and the imagination. A thought is a manifestation, but we often block it from the 3D by demanding time frames and plans which don't exist in the thought realm. Absolutely. See, the interesting thing about these stories is that a person with basic understanding can take the story and see it as a fanciful story. But depending on your depth of understanding, you can see the actual occult symbology here. Interesting. Very interesting. And we saw a similar story, I think, in the same book. So he told this type of story twice, which should indicate the importance. This very short book that we just sat here and said that, he's getting straight to the point, he's not wasting any time. For him to tell a story like this twice in the same book, I think that definitely points to how important it is in relation to this subject matter. Can you feel me? Picture me rolling. That level of samarpan, dedication, comes when you are able to cultivate trust and faith. Otherwise, at a certain point in your dedication, you will always stop. The trust and faith are not complete. When you realize that your trust or faith are not complete, your journey will stop. Your dedication will stop. Your surrender will stop. Trav, what demon can I use to do XYZ? Well, maybe you should start here at the beginning. Nah, fuck that. I need something now. Who can I go to give me an answer right now? Right? I think we've all been there. Therefore, the samarpan actually means that you bypass your mind and develop a simple, innocent, and humble relationship with your guru. Through the guru, the relationship continues to God. Right? Through the guru, the relationship continues to God. That's what I mean. And check this out. Even with this tree of life, how we've talked about the students here in Had, the unfortunate will tell you, they have a direct connection to Chesed, which is where the guru is. Guru has connection to the upper triad. The guru sits at the edge of the abyss, receiving the upper triad. He's able to translate that directly to the student. So this is about relationships here. This is something that can be attained in the sphere of Tifereth and in the sphere of Had. And we were talking yesterday about how there's this interchangeability between Michael in this sphere, and this sphere. I think there's a few clues here to what we're dealing with. Michael, which means he who is like God. And we're talking about how the guru has direct connection to God. And through the guru, the student has connection to God. Michael. There's something to it. I'm just telling you. Let the ear who has an ear hear what the Spirit saith to the churches. Study and practice, y'all. Study and practice. Yeah, he says, when you realize that your trust or faith are not complete, the journey will stop, and your dedication will stop, and your surrender will stop. Therefore, Samarpan actually means that you bypass your mind and develop a simple, innocent, and humble relationship with your guru. Through the guru, the relationship continues to God. You can offer faith only to that which is known to you. How can you offer your faith to that which you've not seen, which is unknown to you? Many yogis have contemplated this subject over the ages. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, Ivam satata yukta ye bhakta astvam paryupasate ye chaapyaksharam yaktam tesha ke yoga vitama. There are two kinds of people who worship you, those who believe in your formless existence and those who worship your form. Who among the two is superior? What did Christ say in the Bible? Something about when he returned after coming back. Something about how you guys who have had faith and seen me, that's pretty awesome. But even more blessed are those who have faith in me and who've never seen me. I think that's a hint to this verse right here, where Arjuna asks Krishna, he says, there are two kinds of people who worship you, those who believe in your formless existence and those who worship your form. Which among the two is superior? And if you guys remember, there's also reference to that in Dharana Darshan, where he's talking about meditation on the formless and meditating on a form, and how it really depends on what level you're at. Because some people can do it, some people cannot do it. Yeah, so if you have Dharana Darshan, it might be a good idea to check out page 29. Page 29, where he talks about Sakara and Nirakara. And this is kind of a big thing. Those who worship the unmanifest reality enter into blinding darkness. Those who worship the manifest enter into even greater darkness. Interesting. So yeah, if you've got Dharana Darshan, check out page 29 where it says Sakara and Nirakara. All right. Oh, you know, I need to have a Bible out here so I can just check. Society Eject says John 20 and 29. If you can copy and paste that verse in the chat, I would appreciate it. I don't have my Bible near me, but I think I'm gonna bring it up here from now on. Alora says, which means the ego will then look for confirmation and the belief will create a reality for the individual who holds the belief. Yeah, it can start getting real messy with these vrittis. But yeah, once again, for later study, those of you who have Dharana Darshan, be sure to check out page 29 where it says Sakara and Nirakara. All right? That's a good little page. It's probably about 2 pages. Two pages. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out as soon as we finish this. Okay, Society Ejects. He says, then Jesus said to him, Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and have yet believed. Thank you, Sunshine Chick. And Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. That's definitely a reference to the same thing. I know it is. But let's see what Niranjanananda has to say here about that concept. He says, so Arjuna asked, there are two kinds of people who worship you, those who believe in your formless existence and those who worship your form. Who among the two is superior? Thank you guys for that verse. Krishna replies, both are acceptable to me. Those who worship the formless me attain me, and those who worship me in a form also attain me. Both paths are equally good. However, it is easier to follow the path of form as it allows you to focus your mind at one point, your object of worship. As you advance in the path of form, the experience of duality goes away. As you develop faith and surrender, the sense of duality comes to an end, and the form turns into the formless. Just as you need steps to go to the roof, you need the help of a form to reach the formless. Now, this is really important because it's also Kabbalistic, all right? Bless me. Thank me. Right? Because we're talking even about Kabbalistic principles here. Form pretty much stops becoming a thing around this triad here, around this area. After this, we start getting real formless. This is why it starts to get really difficult for people to understand what's going on in this upper portion of the tree, because there isn't anything to focus on. We're dealing with abstract concepts, so it starts to get really difficult. That's why we need to have an archangel like Ratziel, or Zafkiel, or Zadkiel, or Kamael. And that's just me flexing because I memorized the archangels dealing with the spheres. But that's why we need the assistance of the archangels or the angels, so that we can have an experience of what they represent. We don't necessarily need too much of an abstract concept to understand Malkuth, Yesod, Hod, or Netzach, because these things are within our reality. They're within our reach. Our five senses can deal with these spheres. And for those who have a little bit of development, we can experience Tifereth. But up here, we got to cling onto them angels tightly, because it's through them that we understand what these spheres represent. That's why I also asked you to write down that list of angels and begin to study them independently, because he's talking about Tyaga and climbing up the ladder of success with text we build and destroy, still climbing, still shining, mob deep, hell on earth. The same way that we use these spheres as ladder rungs to climb up, but we use the angels, the angelic concepts, to understand. But anyway, he says here, just as you need steps to go to the roof, you need the help of a form to reach the formless. After all, everything in this world is a form. There's nothing formless in this dimension. How can you then perceive the formless or even think about it? People say that Om is the formless aspect of God, but even Om has a form. Damn, son. Alora says, don't they say you have to experience the divine? You have to experience the divine. It can't be explained. So getting there, we use some type of reference to get ready for what's beyond. Yes. Look now, I just love how this stuff interchanges so seamlessly, right? Like, I'll be honest, I didn't plan to be reading Ladder of Lights in this book like at the same chapter per chapter, but it's almost as if every book study that we have has literally just been a piece of a puzzle that fits perfectly. And I think that's actually been going on for probably a year or two with all these book studies. Like, these different concepts and chapters in each of these books, they fit with each other. But I think that's also a clue that we're touching something that's behind the words here. We're actually touching these concepts. Yeah, we're getting deep here, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Oh boy. But yeah, that's the whole reason why I wanted you guys to write down those angels and the archangels and the page numbers so that you can start studying them independently, maybe even doing some Google research or another book research. They fit hand in hand, thanks to Laura. Because the more that you get a personal understanding, like what you just said, the more that you get a personal experience of these abstract concepts, the more that you can start to see them, right? We can't see them because they have no form. All right, let's keep going. But yeah, again, for side reading, page 29, Duranda Darshan. Might have to bring that up on Sunday, so be sure to read it. Okay, so people say that Om is the formless aspect of God, but even Om has a form. How will you meditate on the formless? Even if you meditate on the breath, it has a form. It is an experience. If you meditate on a mantra, it is a sound, a wave, a form. If you meditate on a flame, that also is a form. Formless is only an idea, but the progression and connection takes place with the help of a form, right? I talked before about a symbol. We use a symbol to connect with the essence behind the symbol, right? So formless is only an idea, but the progression and connection takes place with the help of a form. Whatever you focus your mind on is a form, hence the angels and the archangels. Whatever you focus your mind on is a form. The effort to connect with supreme element is achieved with the help of a form. Those of you who went through the inner light activation system, remember we did the exercise with the tattvas, the meditation on those different tattvas. That form, it's more than just a shape. It's more than just a square and a triangle. The form takes you beyond that. It almost serves as a door or a gateway to something that is formless, yet very distinct, not random. It is the worship of a form that gives birth to faith, and it is with the help of a form that one is able to arrive at surrender. When the mind is not standing rigid on the strength of its own obsessive desires, but remains balanced on the strength of its spirit, that is surrender. I'll read that again. When the mind is not standing rigid on the strength of its obsessive desires, but remains balanced on the strength of its spirit, that is surrender. Sounds like he's even talking about surrender to the highest aspect of self, right? The buddhi, not the ahamkara. When the mind is stuck in desires, it walks the path of bhoga. When it is firm in faith, it walks the path of yoga. This is the teaching the guru gives. How to remove the mind from desires and connect it with spirit. This is the teaching the guru gives. How to remove the mind from desires and connect it with spirit. When the guru is able to connect you with your spirit and you experience that connection, then surrender comes to a culmination in life. Good stuff. This is really good stuff. Let me know in the chat if you guys are getting this. This is a great book, and I'm glad to be going over it again at this stage. And definitely anybody on the path who's like kind of starting out or not knowing where to go, I'm going to continue recommending this book. I remember the first time I did, Mo B in the chat here, she might remember, but she asked me what was a good place to start learning about yoga and the mental control. And this was probably close to a year ago. I recommended this book. And I'm glad I did, because I would still recommend this book as one to start with if you wanted to kind of jump from the very beginning of yoga to a place where it kind of makes sense. Society Eject says this book is life. Be hard, gang, right? Be hard, gang. Good stuff, good stuff. Moby says you have a great memory, Trev. I pay attention. But, in my defense, I probably don't do much else but read, so my mind is less cluttered with other things. Sunshine Chick says these books have been a game changer for me. Yes, ma'am, I agree. Me too. Me too. These books that we're going through for the next couple of months, all these books have really pushed me forward in my understanding of the Vedic information. All of these books have really pushed me forward because each one of these books are just little key pieces. I don't even know how I found them in what order. Like it was given to me, I would say, spiritually. But I'm super happy that you guys are experiencing this with me also. Again. Yeah. Check this out. We're a group of people who have a library of books that we actually read, not just collected because it looks cool. Another story about my pastor uncle. I remember he was kind of cutting back on sugar and stuff, so he stopped drinking sodas and he would drink like the sparkling water. I remember I tried one and thought to myself how gross and how ridiculous. Like, why would they make soda with no sugar in it? And here I am now buying these boxes of LaCroix because sometimes they go on sale, buy two get one free. So it's like I'll get like 6 boxes because they last forever. But you know what? If you stop eating so much sugar, they actually start to taste pretty good. For real. Raz cranberry. I think my favorite one so far is the pear. The pear one tastes really nice. But in French it's called pamplemousse. Pamplemousse. I don't think I'll ever be able to say pamplemousse to somebody with a straight face. I'm not going to be able to look a man in his eyes and say pamplemousse. I think that might be kind of uncomfortable. Oh, pamplemousse head ass. Brick masonry. Boy, look like a pample. Yeah. Connor Black says, depends on the flavor. Some of them taste like static TV. I like that taste, though. Static TV. Gerald Sombright says, I like those because they contain the essence of the fruit. The essence is enough to satisfy your taste buds. Yes. Alright. So now the third aspect of the path of Nivritti, which is cultivating heartfelt conviction. The third foundation of the Nivritti path is Vishvas, belief. It is not intellectual knowing, it is heartfelt conviction. A story in the Upanishads states that once there was a kingdom in which was suffering from drought for many years. People were suffering due to the lack of water. The land was turning into a desert, and the citizens were migrating to other places in search of greener pastures. The king consulted the wise men of his kingdom and decided to perform a havan to invoke the rains. At an auspicious time, a group of learned priests came together and started to perform the ceremony to invoke rain. The havan went on for many months. Curiously enough, I'm sure that the Vedic mystics, the yogic mystics, understood Vedic astrology, and they probably knew that they knew that the drought was coming, and they probably knew that the king was going to ask for their help. That's the cool thing about this. Sherry Berry Charbet, peace. She says, been here for a minute. Love and wholeness to the fam. Peace. Peace and pamplemousse. At an auspicious time, a group of learned priests came together and started to perform the ceremony to invoke the rain. The Havan went on for many months. People from all over the kingdom would come to participate and pray to God for the end of the drought, for an end to the drought. One day, a young boy came to have darshan of the yajna. He arrived with an open umbrella over his head. Everyone present at the yajna began to make fun of this little boy, saying, "Is it raining that you have come with an umbrella? The sky is blue, the sun is merciless, there's not a single cloud in the sky as far as the eyes can see, and you are standing here with an umbrella? Do you think it's going to rain?" The boy replied, "You are performing the yajna for rain, yet you do not believe that your yajna will yield results. I have come from a distant village, believing that with this yajna rain will come down and the calamity that our kingdom is facing will be averted. I believe rain will come." When the boy said those words to the priests, they were speechless. They were performing the yajna, but they had no belief in it. Whereas the little boy believed that the yajna would yield the right result. He had come with that belief, and as soon as he spoke those words, it started to rain. It rained cats and dogs for days, and there was everything in abundance in the kingdom. All because the belief of one boy who had the heartfelt conviction that what was being done would bring the right result. Isn't there a Bible verse about having the faith of a mustard seed, or you have to enter the kingdom with the heart like a child? Isn't there some kind of Bible verse like that also? I'm no Bible scholar, but I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. Conscious Identity, peace. Framestar Films, peace, peace. Conscious Identity says, "Hello everyone, I pray you manifest everything your hearts desire. I was having a rough time, but I entered the live stream at 1:11 minutes. Hell yeah." Matthew Watson says, "So do all 72 angels have a place in the steps of the ladder or Sephiroth, or is it just the big named angels?" Believe it or not, the 72 angels belong to the sphere of Hod. They belong to the sphere of Hod. The Benai Elohim, the sons of God. You can also find this confirmed. You can find that confirmed in several places. But the one that comes to mind is from Franz Barden, The Art of Evocation, something like that. The practice of magical evocation. It's in another one of these books too, but hold on, let me find it for you, since I happen to have it on hand. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's stuck. There we go. So what we have right here, the 72 genie of the Mercurian zone, Mercury, which is also Hod. You'll notice that it's the 72 angels. Vehuaya, Heliel, Sitael, Elamaya, etc., etc. And it continues all the way to 72. All the way to 71, 72. So with the angels here being belonging to that sphere, so do the goetic spirits, because they're one and the same. Should the magician completely control this sphere as well, then he has become an excellent spheric magician. I place great importance on the control of the intelligence of the zone girdling the Earth, the Moon sphere, and the Mercury sphere, since these three spheres are the closest to the magician and correspond to the physical, astral, and mental worlds. Therefore, I urge the spheric magician to become absolute master of these three spheres and their intelligences during his magical and evocative operations. The magician will discover on his own that through contact with these three spheres of the Earth, the Moon, and Mercury, with these three spheres and their intelligence, genie and subordinate beings, he can attain anything he wishes to an extent of which a magically untrained person has not the slightest idea. But yeah. So the other angels and angelic orders, they all belong to the other spheres. But like I said, you can look that up elsewhere as well. Okay, yeah, so the Bible verse and the faith of a child. Thank you, Society Ejects. The verse says, And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. IDK DKDF, greetings. He says the umbrella is Jesta, Scorpio. Same concept. Harness energy to manifest. Okay, thank you for that too. Because like I said, all of these stories are metaphorical. And if you guys have been listening for the past few months, I have really been studying the use of metaphor in language. And understanding that metaphor is really, really magical, right? So it's not just picking a story. The metaphors that you believe in your reality really illustrate your reality. So for him to be using the metaphor of a child and using the umbrella, like a masterful occultist or spiritual teacher doesn't just use a story willy-nilly, all right? There's a reason for it. Because metaphors speak volumes. They speak volumes. Every piece of the metaphor can teach a person at a subconscious level. So good eye, sniper, with identifying Jesta as the umbrella. I didn't catch that. MC Maestro says Cardi B is not my anchor for this series of books. I would attempt to sing it, but some of the modern songs I sound absolutely ridiculous, so I'm not even going. I know my limits. All I know is the clip I have on Fortnite. Big bags busting and Balenciaga bags or something like that. I don't know. All I can say clearly and confidently is if it's up, then it's up, then it's up, and it's stuck. I mean, I can't even say that, so I'll leave that to you guys. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's stuck. I've yet to hear the entire song outside of that part. Do you know the way? Do you know the way? He does not know the way. Wet ass yoga. All right, let's keep going. So the boy believed, right? It began as soon as he said that, as soon as the boy expressed his faith, it rained cats and dogs for days, and there was everything in abundance in the kingdom, all because of the belief of one boy who had the heartfelt conviction that it was being done, that what was being done would bring the right result. That is the power of belief, or Vishwas. Vishwas is not just believing in something, but also knowing that it will come true. Isn't that one of the fundamental magical principles? The rituals that you do, like it's literally not even worth your time and effort if you don't believe that what you're doing is going to do something. That you don't believe that what you're doing is going to yield a result. It's not worth it if you don't even have this level of belief. But see, this kind of belief, this is really you accessing your spiritual aspect. Because having this kind of belief and knowing that it will come true, this is you reaching beyond your five senses and your memory and your ego. You're exercising yourself to reach beyond that into that higher transcendental plane. I say transcendental because it transcends the five senses and the five elements. So that's the kind of belief he's talking about with Vishwas. Vishwas is not just believing in something, but also knowing that it will come true. That's the same thing that the Bible spoke of, Christ spoke of, with the faith of the grain of the mustard seed and having to enter the kingdom with a mind like that of a child. There is the story of Mother Shabari and Ramacharitamas. When she was about 16 years old, her guru told her, "One day, Rama will come to your hut." Oh man. Oh man. Okay, so there's a story of Mother Shabari and the Ramacharitamanas. When she was about 16 years old, her guru told her, "One day, Rama will come to your hut." He did not tell her when, the date, the month, or the year. From that day onwards, every day Shari believed, "Today is the day that Rama will arrive at my hut." Oh man. Every day she would prepare for Rama's arrival, clean her hut, gather her fruits, prepare his asana, prepare everything as if an important guest was going to pay a visit. Uh-oh, did my phone die? What, did it freeze? Oh, sheesh. Had me concerned for a second. Yeah, I'm plugged in. Good, good, good. Every day she would prepare for Rama's arrival, clean her hut, gather her fruits, prepare his asana, prepare everything as if an important guest was going to pay a visit. She continued doing this till the ripe old age of 80. In her 80th year, Rama came to her home. Oh my God. For 74 years, she had been expecting him every day. Would you have had such hope? After 3 days, you would have said, "Whenever you come, I will deal with you at that time." Man, that would have been your attitude. But for Shabari, her conviction, faith, and trust in her guru was intense. The guru had said, "Rama will come to your house one day." And she waited every day of her life with the same patience and intensity. Looking forward to his arrival did not diminish as time went by. I highlighted that. Check that out. Looking forward to his arrival did not diminish as time went by. That's a level of faith, y'all. How many of you have done rituals where you had to wait for longer than a few days, longer than a week, longer than a few months? How many of y'all have done rituals where you had to wait for a few years? Have you ever had that experience? I have. I have. I've had rituals where I have had to wait for a few years without a diminishing of faith, right? And I think that's really how I personally cracked the code of Goetia for myself, because I saw that it wasn't even about getting the result. It was about the connection and, what he's talking about here, opening the faith with these higher sources, right? MC Maestro says, "Yeah, all my money rituals are coming full swing now." That's what I'm talking about. Look, some of these things don't happen tomorrow. Some of them don't happen next week. And look, this is what separates us from those other people who just want to do it because it's the trend. They don't have the wherewithal to sit there and understand that it's not a magic trick. Like, this is a process of inner development. Because here's the thing, I don't know what the guru was thinking when he talked to her, but essentially, she manifested that. Now, we don't know what else was happening in her life to finally get her to this point. But one thing about it, she kept her faith the same and it came true. Now, if she knew that it would take that long, would she have done it? I don't know. But the important thing is, what we keep seeing in book after book, lesson after lesson, teacher after teacher is, time is not a factor. You don't worry about the time. You don't have a lust for the result. There's got to be a deeper aspect to it. And that's what we've been seeing with these other stories, right? There were the two dudes hanging upside down from the tree. He told the dude, "Hey, as many leaves as there are on this tree, that's how many days it's going to take." One dude said, "Man, fuck all that. I'm getting out of here, going home. My wife is cooking some good food. I'm about to sleep in that warm bed." He left. He didn't have what it took. The other guy was like, "Great, awesome. At least now I know." And he got it just like that. And there was another story where they're asking, "When will we see the vision of God?" The dude said, "You have 3 more years." He said, "Fuck all that," and went home. The other dude, he said, "You have Count the leaves on the tree, and that's how many days. And the dude said, awesome, at least now I know. Two different mindsets. MC Maestro said, right, the dude on the tree faced and accepted the fact that God guaranteed his liberation. It was the state of faith that manifested it. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Shabari Sharbe says, I have. That is how I got to China. Awesome. Moby says, things have to happen behind the scenes, so be patient and know it's yours, like she knew. Precisely. And if you think like that, it's also important to what he was saying about being careful with who's around you. Because imagine the people around her who could have talked her out of it. Oh, well, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years, it's been 50 years, it ain't coming. If you got that in your ear for every day, I imagine that it would kind of wear down on you. So it's important to have people who can see things like you. A lot of people don't have the eyes to see the vision. A lot of people aren't built like that. That's why as an entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to create something new in this world, you can't be sharing your dreams with these basic ass people because they don't see it the way you see it. So of course they're gonna. I remember talking to a dude about crypto, and he was like, "Nah, man, that's just a waste of time, man. How you gonna spend money on something you can't see, man? That sounds stupid." He said, "How are you gonna spend money on something you can't see, man? You don't have the eyes to understand what's going on, right?" So I'm not saying don't share your dreams with people because they're going to ruin it. What I'm saying is understand that if people don't have the eyes like you have, you're literally asking them to shut you down. Yeah. Built different. Gerald Sunbright says motherfuckers told Tiana in Princess and the Frog she was never going to get that restaurant, man. Framestar Film says be open enough to receive. And that's another thing, right? She was open enough. She was open the whole time. Holy shit. Karen Evans says some Christians once prayed against a bar that has sprouted nearby. The bar caught on fire and the owner decided to take them to court. The church folk denied they had anything to do with it. The judge, in surprise, then said, "Here we have a case of a bar owner who believes in the power of prayer and Christians who don't." Man, looky here. Looky here. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Society Eject says, "Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of the man the things which God has prepared for those who love him." That's one of them verses that got me through that very difficult time in 2006. Yes, sir. Oh, Lord. Let's continue. So looking forward to his arrival did not diminish. Okay. Rama will come to your house one day, and she waited every day of her life with the same patience and intensity. Looking forward to his arrival did not diminish as time went by. These are some examples of the type of mind you can develop. They are not isolated examples of historical figures. These are conditions of mind which every individual can develop, provided there is the depth of feeling within. Tyaga, Samarpan, and Vishvas are the three tools which you can progress on the path of Nivritti. As you make progress on this path, the vasanas, obsessions, desires, and aspirations lessen, and the mind becomes freer. As you make progress on this path, the vasanas, the obsessions, the desires, the aspirations, they begin to diminish, and the mind becomes freer. The chain which binds the mind gradually falls away, and it begins to experience freedom from vrittis, from involvement in the world of senses and sense objects, and you begin to relive your spiritual, transcendental, and transformative nature. You establish a connection with your own self, with God, with Guru, And that connection is an eternal connection. Just as the energy of God remains awakened and alive in the guru, the energy of guru becomes awakened and alive in the disciple. Guru is another name for Jupiter. Remember that also. This can also be applied Kabbalistically. Greetings up at a unicorn. So check that out. Tyaga, which is renunciation. Samarpan, which is dedication. And Vishwas, which is belief. These are the 3 tools that allow you to progress in the path of Nivritti. If you have this book, make sure you're looking over what he's saying here. If you don't have this book, make sure that you got chapter 3 read and highlighted. Sunshine Chick asks, Trav, do you always read with a pen? Not always, but sometimes. Like when I'm doing my speed reading, one of the speed reading techniques that I learned was you can either go across like this or to go down and read each scan. My eyes go left and right as the pen goes down to the next line, left, right, left, right. But usually I do it with these videos just to kind of, if anyone is watching the film, they're at least able to see where I'm at in case you look away and look back. Whoa, Lord. Lord, 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 Lord. Mm-hmm. Gerald Tom Bright says, hence the long beard and joviality of Guru. Yeah, another connection. Yeah. So even though these things are Kabbalistic and sometimes Hebrew, sometimes European, that doesn't mean that they created these concepts. Because as we know, most of these things known as European are not created in Europe, but rather taken from other places and rebranded, as that is the way that things are done. But yeah, a lot of these concepts are also very Vedic and very ancient, very ancient. So we'll probably be seeing these concepts in every spiritual system. All right. Oh, Lord. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's stuck. Stray Panther asks, what's a good book for speed reading? Been looking for a good one. I would say this is a good one to grab. She also has a YouTube channel, but in all honesty, her book is better. But this is called Essential Speed Reading Techniques, How to Become a Better, Faster Reader. A lot of good information in here. They're doable techniques. If you want something really nice, though, no, don't get me wrong, though. This is worth getting. It's very short too, so it's got a couple techniques that you can use, and it's also got where you can write down your stats and all that good stuff. So yeah, as far as a good speed reading book, this is a good one. Make sure the camera can focus here. Come on, there we go. So yeah, what is speed reading? Setting your goal, the word clustering technique, reducing sub-vocalization, that's a good one. Layered reading, that's another great technique. But yeah, good stuff. Veronica Archaga says, read with a pen and finger is a speed reading technique. Exactly. Sunshine Chick says, I've been noticing lately that when I read with a pen, the text hits a little differently. Yeah. I noticed that when I do use a pen, I think with me, I kind of blaze through a little bit faster, but it's not like I'm missing the information. Veronica says, once you stop using it, your eyes automatically will follow the speed. Yes. Well, Trent says, got a free night. Told my job I might have COVID. I'm going to drop a track tonight. Hey, do what you got to do, man. we're almost done. But I guess since Stray Panther, this is going to be your birthday soon. Here's another book that I recommend for speed reading. It's called The Manual, a guide to the ultimate study method. You may have seen me recommend it before, but this would be a good one to get because it doesn't just focus on speed reading, also super memory, also concentration, note taking, and rapid mental arithmetic. But this has some good stuff about speed reading and some techniques that I haven't seen before, but definitely good ways to use your subconscious mind in picking up some of this information. So the first book that I mentioned is really good. And see, this is what I was talking about as far as having my pen and dragging it down. See, these are the different lines of the text. But as I drag it down, your eye is going in a figure eight motion, just like that. And as you can see here, you also want to kind of read in chunks. So I would use my pen or my finger, and I'd go across like this, and I would scan that chunk, then scan that chunk, then scan that chunk, then scan that chunk. Just like the serpent climbing up the tree. But yeah, it has different techniques to do it. It's called The Manual. It's red. You'll see it. Oh, Lord. Right foot creep on, walking with the heater. Look around, stay low, make sure they don't see him. Catch him bad, walk down. Under your seat, you on your way to see him. Right foot creep on, walking with the heater. Catch him bad. Catch him bad. How do you catch somebody bad? What does that mean? Touchdown and raise hell. Boosie badass. MC Maestro says pen represents the air quality and hard. Absolutely. The wand, right? Not the wand, but the sword. Yeah, the sword. Matthew Watson says, these have been amazing for my growth. I think I reached a new level. Things I couldn't see last year have been coming up a lot in life and in these chapters. Hell yeah. You're welcome, Stray Panther. Veronica says, I need a checking account for books, Travis. You and me both. I'm not the best with taxes, but I think I'm going to have to start getting myself a tax write-off for these books. Right foot creep on, walking with the heater. The devil's under your seat. The devil's under your feet. You're on the way to meet him. All right, let's finish up here. Just as the energy of God remains awakened and alive in the guru, the energy of guru becomes awakened and alive in the disciple. All right, so this is the last paragraph of the book, The Paths of Pravritti and Nivritti. And we started out with the story of Mr. Atmaram in the City of Light. We continued by describing the path of Pravritti, which is the involvement in the vrittis and the sense objects. And then we continued into describing the path of Nivritti and balancing Pravritti. And he gave so many different techniques that you can do on a daily basis. So many. Some of them were mantras that he gave, and I made a playlist of those mantras, and I did share that playlist as you wake up. He actually recorded that, and it's on YouTube. So I've been doing that ever since I read that in this book. I've been doing it, starting to really develop a relationship with Durga, and that's pretty awesome because Durga is a goddess that I have not worked with ever, and I think it's kind of funny that I got that little fortune cookie thing here, because that definitely relates to some of the things that Durga has been presenting to me. I'm actually learning it. I don't know it all by heart yet, but I can randomly throughout the day, a few of her names pop up in my head, So that's a really good sign. Om Durga. Om Durga. Okay, let's finish up here. So reaching the destination. B Wheel says, LOL, what song is that? You can type in Right Foot Creep. I believe it's by NBA Young Boy. NBA Young Boy. Om Durga, Durga Deshamani. I recently found a Om Namah Shivaya by him. It was a little different, but I could dig it. I could dig it. But yeah, very useful, very useful. I'm very happy that we live in this time that we can just pull this stuff up on YouTube. Like, y'all don't understand how fortunate we are to have access to all this stuff. I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all don't understand how fortunate we are. Goodness gracious. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's finish up here. These are the two paths of life, Pravritti and Nivritti. By adopting the principles which we have discussed, it is definitely possible to improve the quality of lifestyle. You don't have to change your lifestyle. You have to improve the quality of your lifestyle. Did y'all hear that? You don't have to change your lifestyle. You have to improve the quality of your lifestyle. Big difference. Those who are following the path of Pravritti have to create a better system, structure, and understanding in their everyday routine, in which the effort to integrate with the outer society along with the cultivation of inner awareness can coexist, right? So if you're following the path of Pravritti, the path of being wrapped up in the world and the senses and the sense objects, if you're in that path of the world, you have to create a better system, structure, and understanding in your everyday routine, right? In which the effort to integrate with the outer society along with cultivation of inner awareness can coexist. So basically, if you're living in the world, you're wrapped up in the world, if this is how you work and make your living, like all of us, you have to develop a system and a structure, right? And a structured system and a structure in which your everyday outside life can integrate with the cultivation of inner awareness so that you're able to live in your day-to-day life, but also cultivate inner awareness of spirit, right? So that's what this is about. He says you don't have to change your lifestyle. You have to improve the quality of your lifestyle. And he said that it's about structuring your life, disciplining yourself so that you're able to live and make your money and take care of your family and do what you got to do, but also you're able to develop the relationship with your spirit, with your soul. You got to be able to cultivate that. For this, the methods are Anushasana, Sanyam, and Sadhana. While for those following the Nivritti path, it is necessary to become endowed with Tyaga, which is renunciation, Samarpan, which is dedication, and Vishvas, which is faith, and follow the guidance of a guru. This is how you fulfill the purpose for which you have taken birth, to realize the luminosity within, to complete the journey to the city of light, Brahmapuri. So that's how you complete the journey to the city of light. We're still on that journey. All of us are residents of Hotel Earth. That story in the beginning, that was about us. That was about us. We're the ones who checked into this hotel and ended up hanging out with Miss Desire and Misunderstanding and getting influenced by Mr. Money Ram and all these other people, right? We are Mr. and Mrs. Soul trying to find our way to the city of light. And we got stuck here because the food is great, right? Because it smells good here sometimes. Because there are some things that we feel in our physical bodies that is just amazing. Because some of the music here is just plain awesome. I mean, have you heard Beethoven's 7th Symphony, Movement Number 2? Jeez, come on. So it's easy to understand why we got stuck here. It really is. But Now that we are coming into the awareness that there are things beyond this hotel earth, the natural curiosity arises of, well, how did I get stuck here, and what's the circumstances? How do I get out of it? How do I get out of it? And if you don't read anything else, this book definitely does at least give you tools that you can use to make that journey back. For real. Nothing you got to like stretch your brain to believe, like no Xenu, right? We're not talking about no Xenu, no aliens created the pyramid, no Illuminati gonna get us, no demiurge did it to us. None of that stuff. It's just pay attention to how your mind works, why your mind is working that way. What are you triggered by, and why are you triggered, right? Just simple things, basic things, real things. If you work on the things that he mentioned in this very short book of 67 pages, it can literally change your life. And I'm not even being dramatic. I'm happy to have read this book. I'm happy to have applied what's in this book. MC Maestro says the science of the Nephilim be in the world and not of it. Yes. But yeah, I'm highly grateful to be able to just have access to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who don't have access to this. There's people who are running around this world confused, sad, hopeless, defeated, obsessed, perverted, angry, and don't know how to get out of that, let alone even desire to get out of that. There's real people right now. You can walk out of your room and just look, not even that far away. You can touch these people. You know their first and last names. You've known them for years. There's still people who are stuck and don't have a way out. I'm highly grateful that at least this information has made its way to my ears and my eyes. You feel me? Like, very easily I could have not been in. I could still be looking at the Satanic Bible and the Necronomicon and literally just be stuck right there, right? I could have just made a whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, not that there's anything wrong with those things, but I have such a well-rounded understanding of those things now than I did 20 years ago, right? When I listened to Marilyn Manson and Slipknot, and I heard about these dark books because I wanted to change my life I wanted to experience different things. You know what I'm saying? I could still be right there, but the fact that I even stepped onto that path has led me here, and I'm extremely grateful for that. I'm extremely grateful for everything I've experienced that brought me to this point. You know what I'm saying? Because very easily I could have been like some other people that I have known for the same amount of time that haven't changed, who've actually gotten worse, who've actually gotten sicker, right? Because of this information, I'm healthier, I'm stronger, right? I have a stable mind. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any drama. I'm not wrapped up in senseless drama. I feel like, and I not only feel like, but I know and understand deeply that I'm on the right track and that I have something to live for. There was a time where I didn't feel like I had something to live for, right? I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but there was a time where I felt like there was nothing to wake up for, like, oh, another day. Wake up, go to work, feel unloved, right? Longing for love, longing for substance, longing for just something and not receiving it, drinking myself back to sleep, crying myself back to sleep, right? And waking up to do that shit again. I'm so grateful that I'm not in that position anymore. Do you understand that? But it's because of information like this that made it into my life that not only have I transcended that, but I'm also able to share that with people. You feel me? That's a beautiful blessing. Beautiful blessing. And like I said earlier, I don't take that for granted. So like I said, if you don't go any further than this, at least know that you're still on the right track and this is leading you to the right place. So yeah, I appreciate you guys being here in this journey with me. And yeah, as Court Singh said, Niranjan Ananda's books be hidden. For real, for real. Hotel Earth. Jenny, greetings. Hotel Earth. There's nothing wrong with Hotel Earth. You know, it was designed to be a very enjoyable place, but let's understand this is a resting spot. This is not the destination. I think we have spent enough lifetimes here to really appreciate everything that it has to offer, but we need to also understand that nothing here is going to change. This is the way that it is. What we are destined for is much greater than this. Now, like I said at the beginning of this whole year, we're studying the science of yoga because this is the vehicle. At the same time, we're studying the science of Kabbalah because this is the map, right? So we're talking about Hotel Earth. We're talking about the city of light. We actually came from there. We're at Hotel Earth and we're on our way back. This is what every spiritual system on the planet is talking about. Every single one. Now, there are some who don't go past the abyss. Which, it's interesting that a lot of you guys kind of felt that same feeling I felt after reading that chapter on Doth, where it kind of hit me in such a way that I've been stuck there for a minute. Because there's so much to Doth that even just reading that chapter you can feel has been left unsaid. That was a heavy ass chapter, and I'm definitely gonna have to go back over it before I continue. But man, good stuff, good stuff. Timon says, thanks Trav for doing this. It is very helpful and applicable in life. Specifically, this book sheds light and exposes a lot of hidden stuff in me. The mirror work. Absolutely, absolutely. Gerald Sunbright says, I'm happy to have participated. Framestar Film says, we are as gods here. This knowledge gives us that wisdom which makes that final choice at the abyss all the more difficult. Yeah, exactly. Moby says, I feel a calmness since doing the mantras each morning. You feel calm, your mind is clear, you can make decisions easier. Yes. www.christina.com. I'm super grateful for you as well. For real, because you guys help keep me motivated to stay consistent and keep doing this. So I'm grateful for you as well. Yikes, Society Eject says some people's Hotel Earth is The Shining. That sucks. You know, I still haven't seen that movie, but I know what you mean. Ooh. Virus Beat says Iowa is one of my favorite albums. Love you, bro. Yeah, Iowa was pretty badass, but honestly, I will always love the first self-titled album the best. Good stuff, good stuff. And yes, just like Straight Panther says, thank you guys for hitting the like button. I appreciate that. Like I said, I know that this information is awesome, but you know, YouTube is kind of a algorithm robot thing. So in order to convince and convey to YouTube that this is the best information on her platform, hitting the like button helps her to understand that. Gerald Sombright says Doth chapter hit him in the chest, right? Yeah. All right. Doth. You know, maybe that Doth guy knew something we didn't know. Maybe he was showing us what it's like to be stuck in the abyss. Sheesh. All right, guys. So this was fun. It's always fun. And, you know, I'm not going to make any promises because I am me. And this body happens to be formed up under the Gemini air sign. So I can be flighty. I know that. But I'm going to try my best to continue doing these type of book studies. I am actually learning a lot doing this also. Because I learned through teaching. As I read the books and I kind of break down the different chapters and stuff like that, it also brings this information to the forefront in my head. So I'm going to try to make it a point to do this a lot more. It's a lot of fun. I like it. Ooh, MC Maestro says Pravritti and Nivritti is a guide through Doth. Ooh. Would you guys hate it if I did a reread of the Doth chapter? Would that be obnoxious to you guys? But yeah, I highly recommend and suggest, if you haven't joined the book study group right here on YouTube, right, the join button is right next to the subscribe button. If you haven't, so consider doing it, because number one, it supports me and it helps me to be able to do this every day. And number two, what I'm going to offer, like for you, the benefit of you, what I figure I'm going to go ahead and do, since we're going to be going through these books throughout the months, is that I'm gonna like make a little PDF just collecting of everything that was learned during the month. So just some of the key concepts out of this book and some of the key concepts of what we learned from Ladder of Lights, and maybe even what we covered in Yoga Sutras. I'm gonna just compile all that into a PDF. Just kind of like what I have for the information on the angels and the archangels, the angelos, the malachim, and just put it in an easy to access PDF thing. So that way, that's something that you can look forward to if you join the study group or the YouTube membership thing. I think that's pretty useful. So that's what I'm going to start working on here. That way, after reading the book, you'll have just a little guide to go back through. And then it'll only be available for that month for the people who joined for that month, so that it makes sense, you know. But yeah, it looks like there's no, what's the word? No one is saying that it would be a bad thing to reread that chapter. Yeah, I definitely feel like Doth is worthy of going back over. Veronica says, Travis, can you pass Doth and meet Kether through love as Jesus did to meet God? I think that Jesus had to go over Doth as well, honestly. I'm pretty sure that there's some symbology of where Christ had to cross the abyss. I know that there's stories of Christ having to go into hell to redeem the souls who were lost before he was born. I think that's a Doth story, an abyss story. Matthew Watson says, LOL, damn, got me shook, Trav. What happened in that last chapter? I know, right? The fact that it just left or broke down after uttering the... That's why the second time around I was saying Yo Hey Val Hey instead of Jehovah. All right, so yeah, cool. We'll do a reread of Doth. I think that'll definitely be worth it. Definitely be worth it. All right, so Sunday, of course, we're gonna have a conversation about chapter 3, or excuse me, chapter 4. Go over what we read, what we learned about. We'll see what we're gonna do tomorrow. It might be Yoga Sutras. It might be Doth. But we'll see. We'll see what's gonna happen tomorrow. But I will certainly go back over that chapter because it's definitely worth it. And maybe some other background stuff. All right, so that's that. I appreciate you guys spending time with me. It's been 2 hours and 45 minutes, and you literally could have been doing that anywhere else, but you chose to spend that here with me on my channel, going over this chapter. So, again, I am grateful for you because you motivate me and you keep me going, and just remind me that, that you guys are listening and paying attention and you find it valuable. That helps me. Stray Panther asks, are you going to be in Masterly Foolish Sunday morning? Wow, word spreads fast. How did you know? But yeah, I was actually asked today to be on Masterly Foolish Sunday morning. I'll be on Masterly Foolish Sunday, but it's going to be earlier. It's going to be like 11 o'clock. But we're still going to do the study group afterwards. So I'll jump right into it right afterwards. But you can catch me on Masterly Foolish's channel Sunday early. So I'm going to be on live stream all day long. No biggie. I've done it before many, many times. Many, many times. I had to download that clip from Hellraiser 2 where she opens the box in the hospital room and they start to appear, and the Chatterfingers dude is putting his fingers all up in her mouth. And she's like, "You've done this before," and Hellraiser's like, "Many, many times." Like he's just so exhausted at collecting souls. That part always stood out to me. I thought it was great. But yeah, I'm gonna be on the Masterly Foolish channel, 11 a.m. Eastern. Many, many times. All right, so that's that, guys. Thank you for being here once again, and we will get back to it. Also, guys, like I've mentioned before, I'm gonna restart my class in February. So if you want to be a part of it, connect with me. I've got two options, right? If you want to be, with the full experience and have weekly one-on-one sessions with me, and then also if you don't want to do the weekly one-on-one sessions but just want to go through the course, contact me. Greetings, Caesar. Yeah, contact me and let me know so we can have a discussion. We can talk on Zoom to, see if it's right for you, if it's something that you want to do or not. But in the course, the objective is to provide the framework so that you can have a connection with your higher self. You can understand exactly what that means, what it looks like, what meditations to do, and just to have like a day-to-day framework, day-to-day plan of what kind of meditations, what kind of different practices you can do to build and develop and strengthen that connection with your higher self. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. We can have a talk about it and see if it's right for you. And this is good for any level. If you're somebody who's just beginning and don't really know how to do this kind of spiritual stuff, I'll definitely take the time to help you understand it. All right. Purple Phoenix, peace, peace. All right. So I'm off to play a little bit of Fortnite. Y'all have a great evening. Great evening. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Peace.